Reading closely and writing to learn. Poetry, poets, and becoming writers. Unit 2, Lesson 9. Guiding questions. What makes a poem a poem? What inspires writers to write poetry? Learning targets. I can explain how authors use vivid words and phrases to show their thoughts and feelings about a topic. I can use literary terms to describe the characteristics of my selected poet's poem. Now it's time for some poetry analysis of a new poem, The Great Figure by William Carlos Williams. The Great Figure by William Carlos Williams. Among the rain and lights, I saw the figure 5 in gold on a red fire truck, moving, tense, unheeded, to gong clangs, siren howls, and wheels rumbling through the dark city. Close reading and analyzing The Great Figure by William Carlos Williams. Directions. Read your poem once, silently, then read the poem aloud with your group. Take turns reading the poem aloud, paying attention to punctuation so that you pause in the correct places. Then answer the question on the right. The Great Figure. Among the rain and lights, I saw the figure 5 in gold on a red fire truck, moving, tense, unheeded to gong clangs, siren howls, and wheels rumbling through the dark city. What is the gist of the poem? Who or what is it about? What happens in the poem? To answer this, you can use the sentence starter. The poem is about a blank that is blank. Directions. Record any unfamiliar words from the poem in the box on the right. Look up their meaning in a dictionary and record their definitions next to the word in the box to the right. Pause the video if you need more time to complete this work. As I skim over the poem, I would circle the words figure, tense, unheeded, and gong because those are the words that are most unfamiliar to me in this poem. So for the word figure, I'm going to think about the context clues. It says, I saw the figure 5 in gold on a red fire truck. So the author is telling us that they saw something, the number 5. So in this context, I think it's the shape, and in this case, it's the shape of the number 5. So using my context clues, I was able to figure out that figure means shape. Let's take a look at the word tense. It says the fire truck moving tense, unheeded to gong clangs, siren howls. I've heard the word tense before. If somebody says they're tense, I know it means that they're sort of anxious or worried about something. And I think that this would work for this poem as well because a fire truck would be anxious to get to the fire wherever they're going. So I think that a fire truck, although it's personifying it, it's giving it a human characteristic, that I do think tense means anxious or worried. Unheeded. Let's take a look at that word. It says the fire truck is moving tense, unheeded to gong clangs, siren howls, and wheels rumbling through the dark city. So the word that part of the word means not, heeded. I'm not entirely sure what heeded means, but I know that it probably means that this truck is not going to stop. So if it's moving, it's unheeded. I know that I've heard that before. It can mean like not stopping. And so I think that's what it means in this context. So the fire truck is moving, it's anxious, it's worried to get where it needs to go. It's unheeded by everybody else around it. It's going to get where it needs to be. And finally, the word gong. I've heard the word gong before, and it definitely brings up a memory. I think it's a type of instrument that makes a loud clanging noise. And that makes sense because the author is comparing it to the siren howls. They're comparing that to the gong clang. So the clang of the gong is what the siren sounds like. Pause the video to make sure you've recorded all of these unfamiliar words in your purple workbook. Directions. Then reread your poem as a group and discuss the question on the right. Record your group's thinking. How does knowing the meanings of these words help you better understand your poem? To complete this response, use the sentence starter. Knowing the meanings of these words help me better understand the poem because blank. Pause the video now to complete this work. Directions. Discuss the question on the right as a group, and then draw a sketch in the box on the right. What do you see or imagine when you read this poem? Take the time, pause the video. You can take some time to draw what you imagine as you listen to the poem. Record at least 3 vivid words or phrases that helped you visualize what you drew in the box above. Explain how these words helped you visualize the poem. Then answer the question. What are 3 words or phrases that helped you visualize the poem and why? To complete this response, use the sentence starter I've provided for you. 3 words or phrases that helped me visualize were 1, 2, 3. You're going to fill in those blanks with the words or phrases, and then you're going to continue by writing, they helped me visualize because blank. So here's where you could write about how the imagery helped you, what you thought of when you heard those words, etc. Let's take a look at my drawing. I'm going to underline some words and phrases that helped me draw my picture. So first of all, among the rain and lights. So you'll notice in my picture I have some rain clouds with raindrops coming down from them. So that was one phrase that helped me draw my picture. The next thing that helped me draw my picture was it says, I saw the figure 5 in gold on a red fire truck. So that phrase right there, that helped me understand what it was that the poem was about. It was a fire truck with a gold number 5 written on it. And finally, the last thing that helped me visualize this poem were the words "through the dark city," the last line of the poem. That helped really tell me like when the poem was set. It's a dark, rainy night, and here's this fire truck driving down the street. And so those words really helped me visualize. So now you can go ahead and add these to your purple workbook under 3 words or phrases that help me visualize were among the rain and lights, the figure 5 in gold on a red fire truck, and through the dark city. Then you'll answer the last part on your own. They helped me visualize because blank. Do that now. Pause the video and do that now. Pause the video now to complete this work. Directions. Describe the characteristics of your poem using literary terms from What Makes a Poem anchor chart. I've included that information at the bottom for you, characteristics of poetry, what makes a poem. You'll notice some terms such as free verse, rhythm, rhyme, metaphor, simile, repetition, onomatopoeia, imagery, stanzas, lines, personification, short lines. You can use any of these terms to fill in the blank. If you don't remember what some of these terms mean, go back and look in your workbook. You can start off using the sentence starter. The great figure is a blank poem about blank. The author uses many different characteristics of poetry, including blank, blank, and blank. For example, in the poem blank, another example is blank. So here you can use my structure and fill in the blanks using those characteristics of poetry found in the red box below. Take a look at this artwork that was created by Charles Demuth, and it was inspired by the poem The Great Figure by William Carlos Williams. As you look at the artwork, I want you to think about what images you see and think about the artist. Why might they have chosen to depict the poem in this way? What stood out to them in the poem? Your turn. You will now analyze a poem written by your selected poet. Lawrence Ham, 19. Student athlete. It's more than the ball. Blur dribble down the hardwood floor. More than the step past you. Greater than the lift, the awesome soar through space. Rim high, higher. And the monster jam that crumbles egos. All this, and moves so sweet that makes shadows stumble. I own the sacred space, this holy court, these painted lanes, this kiss of palm on glass, these kicks, the smell of sweat and pain. Call me muscle and flight. Gone is my name, and slam. In this sweet universe of ball, I am. Lawrence Ham, 19. Student athlete. It's more than the ball. Blur dribble down the hardwood floor. More than the step past you. Greater than the lift, the awesome soar through space. Rim high, higher. And the monster jam that crumbles egos. All this, and moves so sweet that makes shadows stumble. I own the sacred space, this holy court, these painted lanes, this kiss of palm on glass, these kicks, the smell of sweat and pain. Call me muscle and flight. Gone is my name, and slam. In this sweet universe of ball, I am. Directions. Read your poem once silently, then read the poem aloud with your group. Take turns reading the poem aloud, paying attention to punctuation so that you pause in the correct places, then answer the question on the right. Lawrence Ham, 19. Student athlete. It's more than the ball. Blur dribble down the hardwood floor. More than the step past you. Greater than the lift, the awesome soar through space. Rim high, higher. And the monster jam that crumbles egos. All this, and moves so sweet that makes shadows stumble. I own the sacred space, this holy court, these painted lanes, this kiss of palm on glass, these kicks, the smell of sweat and pain. Call me muscle and flight. Gone is my name, and slam. In this sweet universe of ball, I am. Question. What is the gist of the poem? When you're answering this kind of question, you're going to ask yourself, who or what is it about, and what happens? To answer this, you can use the sentence starter, the poem is about blank. Directions. Record any unfamiliar words from the poem in the box on the right. Look up their meaning in a dictionary and record their definitions next to the words in the box to the right. Lawrence Ham, 19. Student athlete. It's more than the ball. Blur dribble down the hardwood floor. More than the step past you. Greater than the lift, the awesome soar through space. Rim high, higher. And the monster jam that crumbles egos. All this, and moves so sweet that makes shadows stumble. I own the sacred space, this holy court, these painted lanes, this kiss of palm on glass, these kicks, the smell of sweat and pain. Call me muscle and flight. Gone is my name, and slam. In this sweet universe of ball, I am. List any unfamiliar words below and record their definitions. Pause the video at any time to complete your work in the workbook. Once you've circled unfamiliar words and found their definitions, you can work on the next part. Directions. Then reread your poem as a group and discuss the question on the right. Record your group's thinking. Lawrence Ham, 19. Student athlete. It's more than the ball. Blur dribble down the hardwood floor. More than the step past you. Greater than the lift, the awesome soar through space. Rim high, higher. And the monster jam that crumbles egos. All this, and moves so sweet that makes shadows stumble. I own this sacred space, this holy court, these painted lanes, this kiss of palm on glass, these kicks, the smell of sweat and pain. Call me muscle and flight. Gone is my name, and slam. In this sweet universe of ball, I am. How does knowing the meanings of these words help you better understand your poem? To answer this, think about the words that you recorded up above and use my sentence starter. Knowing the meanings of these words helps me better understand the poem because blank. And in that blank, that's where you'll fill in how knowing those words helped you better understand the poem. Do that now. Pause the video at any time to complete your work in the workbook. Directions. Discuss the question on the right as a group and then draw a sketch in the box on the right. Question. What do you see or imagine when you read this poem? Lawrence Ham, 19. Student athlete. It's more than the ball. Blur dribble down the hardwood floor. More than the step past you. Greater than the lift, the awesome soar through space. Rim high, higher. And the monster jam that crumbles egos. All this, and moves so sweet that makes shadows stumble. I own this sacred space, this holy court, these painted lanes, this kiss of palm on glass, these kicks, the smell of sweat and pain. Call me muscle and flight. Gone is my name, and slam. In this sweet universe of ball, I am. Pause the video at any time to complete your work in the workbook. Directions. Record at least 3 vivid words or phrases that helped you visualize what you drew in the box above. Explain how these words helped you visualize the poem. Question. What are 3 words or phrases that helped you visualize the poem and why? Use the following sentence starters. 3 words or phrases that helped me visualize were number 1, 2, 3. They helped me visualize because blank. Go ahead and fill in those spaces with information from the poem that helped you draw your picture above. Pause the video at any time to complete your work in the workbook. Directions. Describe the characteristics of your poem using literary terms from the What Makes a Poem anchor chart. I've included a version of this chart below. Look in the red box titled Characteristics of Poetry. What makes a poem a poem? In this box, I've listed certain terms or characteristics of poetry that you've studied throughout this unit. They include free verse, rhythm, rhyme, metaphor, simile, repetition, onomatopoeia, imagery, stanzas, lines, personification, and short lines. Feel free to use these words in the blanks. Also think about the poem. Not all of these characteristics of poetry will be evident in the poem that you're studying, but there might be more than one. So definitely think about these terms, what you know about them, as you reread or re-listen to your poem. Lawrence Ham, 19, student athlete. It's more than the ball, blur dribble down the hardwood floor, more than the step past you, greater than the lift, the awesome soar through space, rim high, higher, and the monster jam that crumbles egos. All this, and moves so sweet that makes shadows stumble. I own this sacred space, this holy court, these painted lanes, this kiss of palm on glass, these kicks, the smell of sweat and pain. Call me muscle and flight. Gone is my name, and slam. In this sweet universe of ball, I am. To help you answer this question, you can use the following sentence starter. This poem is about blank. The author uses many different characteristics of poetry, including blank, blank, and blank. For example, in the poem Blank, another example is blank. You don't have to use this structure, but it's there to help you get started. Be sure to include information from the characteristics of poetry chart as well as actual lines from the poem Lawrence Ham, 19, student athlete. Good job and good luck. This is the end of Lesson 9.